Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 2220. The topic is nutrition, and the title is The Impact of Early Morning Workouts on Caloric Timing. The three main reasons why people are overweight is overeating, undereating, and inconsistent eating. Most people assume that they're overweight or that other people are overweight due to overeating, meaning they just eat more than their body needs, and over time their body's saving more and more of that more, and that's causing accumulated body fat. However, that's actually the least common reason why people are overweight from all of the clients I work with. So I've worked with over 3,000 people. And a significant portion of those people have been focused on body composition, quality, wanting to minimize fat, build muscle, and then a lot of them are just simple fat loss, get as much off as they can. Out of all of those people, 3,000 plus, and I taught weight training and exercise physiology at university levels, and the students would always ask me questions about how to get in better shape. Out of all of those people, all of those experiences, the least common reason was overeating. The other two, undereating and inconsistent eating, are actually the more common reasons. Undereating doesn't make sense. Is how can I gain too much body fat from not eating enough food? And that is related to chronic undereating. And typically what happens in that case is people are going to be undereating compared to what their body needs. Their body's not going to get the energy that it needs, so it tries to find energy within the body, so it starts to pick away at some body fat, but then it also minimizes processes within the body that require calories. So fixing and repairing your skin, the quality of your hair, they'll notice their nails are more brittle. They'll also start muscle wasting. Their body will actually break down and catabolize muscle tissue for energy. I've worked with many clients who are anorexic and bulimic, and they're always surprised that although they continue to lose weight, and several of them have been borderline hospitalized due to it, they'll always surprised that there's still some pockets of fat, maybe in their lower belly or their inner thighs, their lower glutes, maybe over the kidneys. They're not as lean as what they would see with the fitness population or people they see in not so much fitness magazines nowadays, but Instagram and social media and TikTok and all that. What happens with that case is they often, although they're undereating the majority of the time, they do have moments of binging, whether that's binging and purging or just binging, or if it's anorexic, maybe they undereat for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 2 weeks, have that many days, but then they have a day where they overeat compared to their norm. What happens is in those moments of surpluses, their body will save everything it possibly can as body fat. It actually won't reallocate those calories to those non-essential processes until it feels safe and secure with a more consistent caloric intake. So any moment their body has any moment of a surplus, they're going to create body fat with it. So although their overall trend is undereating, they still have moments of eating more than their body needs at the moment they ate that food. And in those moments, the body is storing body fat. Inconsistent eating is less consistent undereating. So what this is that what people typically do is they undereat during the day, they overeat at night. That would be inconsistent eating. It's inconsistent in the sense that sometimes you're undereating, sometimes you're overeating, and it's probably a little bit different all the time. If you have a breakfast, sometimes it's small, sometimes you skip it, or sometimes it's really big. If you have a lunch, sometimes it's small, sometimes you skip it, or sometimes it's really big. So that's kind of the case, is the amount of calories we have is inconsistent. It's all over the place. And that causes body fat formation. That is actually the number one reason why people have more body fat than what they want, is due to inconsistent eating. They undereat during the day, and then they overeat at night. This promotes fat storage. The body actually has the desire to replace the fat that was burned off during the day, and it's given an opportunity to do so when we consume too many calories for our activity level at night. So maybe per 24-hour period, you have had the right amount of calories for what your body used in that 24-hour period, but we had a mistiming. There was a severe deficit followed by a severe surplus, and that creates the demand and opportunity for body fat formation. One of the ways I like to think of this is how I would view money. If I am overspending between my paychecks, so I get a paycheck, I spend too much, and then all of a sudden, I miss a couple bills, I miss a couple things. You can't do what you normally want to do. You got a penny pinch until the next paycheck. And if you're living paycheck to paycheck, and especially if you're in a deficit between the paychecks, any moment you have a surplus. Let's say, for example, you get a bonus at work. Or, it's a holiday or a birthday and you're lucky enough that you have someone in your life that gives you money towards that. Maybe you get a refund check. Whatever the heck it might be. There's a moment where you get an influx of money. I would hope that you save some of it. Chances are you're going to maybe spend a little, but I hope that you then save some of it. And what ends up happening is you are stretched to your limits all of the time. The second you're given a little bit of an extra, you got to save that, right? You got to protect yourself because you've been overstretched. I have an opportunity now with a surplus to protect myself, whether that's financially or body fat wise. I'm going to use that opportunity to put some money aside or some calories aside for protection. So if we're always overspending, and we get a little bit of extra money, we're going to save that to protect ourselves. If I'm always overspending my calories, and then I get a moment of surplus, I'm going to save some of that to protect myself. So our body manages calories very similar to how we should manage money. This is important for us to know. This way, we can better predict how the body will respond to deficits and surpluses, and then we can better time our calories to minimize deficits and then minimize surpluses. The more we match how our body uses calories, the less the body has the need to save calories. So when we undereat during the day and then we overeat at night, we're presenting our body with more calories than it needs at that nighttime. But since we've had a severe deficit all day, the body uses that moment at night to replace what was spent, but then also saves some of that excess. So early morning workouts. The impact of early morning workouts on caloric timing is it actually furthers the normal issue that people have that causes them to be overweight. If they have too much fat, and it's related to, and you can kind of like break down what they do when I do my initial consultation with people and have phone calls and Zoom meetings and all that stuff. We talk about what they currently do, what their current energy demands are, their current food intakes, food choices. We talk about everything in their life. Schedule, learn everything. I want to learn everything about them that I can. What I often find is if they have too much body fat, more than what they want, and it's related to this inappropriate timing, this mistiming of calories, undereating during the day, overeating at night. When they exercise early in the morning, it is actually exaggerating the issue. It is making the issue worse. I had a phone call recently with someone, and they were telling me that this was exactly what was happening. They exercise in the morning. They eat very consistent calories per 24 hours, but they weren't losing weight. They weren't really getting much stronger. They could see some strength development, not really see much muscle development, and they weren't really losing body fat. They were like, what the heck's going on? I'm eating really clean. I'm eating the right amount of food, like the right type of food. I'm eating the right amount of food. I'm exercising in the morning. Why in the world aren't I continuing to lose body fat? And the issue was they were already under eating during the day and overeating at night. And the addition of calorie using exercise in the morning, without the addition of food, made that daily deficit more extreme, which then made the body respond more extremely in wanting to replace the body fat that was used, put more back on, and create more protection against that mistiming of calorie intake versus usage. So what was happening was they were increasing their daily debt, their daily caloric debt, because they didn't change their meal timing. If they're going to move more earlier in the day, they needed to eat more earlier in the day. So people spend more calories earlier in the day now if they add early morning, like basically fasted workouts. So they get up in the morning, they maybe eat, maybe they don't. They go burn a couple hundred calories. Then they come home, they eat a conservative, healthy breakfast, which might only be 200, 300, 400 calories. And that's barely replacing the calories they used in their workout. It's certainly not giving them any energy that they actually should be using now to be up and active and get the kids to school or go off to work or do household things. They have all this activity during the day, and they're always eating to basically catch up. They're not eating to fuel what they're doing. They're eating to fuel what they did. And when we're always behind in our food, we're perpetuating the reason why our body has formed body fat. The body has stored body fat as stored energy for when we don't have enough coming in. So if you're always eating behind your activity, you're actually reinforcing why you have body fat. How we address this is to better time our calories to better match our calorie output to our calorie intake. One of the ways I use this or kind of address this with clients is we use a concept called thirds. We break our day down into 3 sections. So typically people are going to sleep 6 to 8 hours. That means you're awake for 16 to 18 hours. We can break the day into the first 5 to 6 hours of being awake, regardless of when you wake up. Then the second 5 to 6 hours of being awake. And then the third 5 to 6 or so hours of being awake. So we have the first third of the day, the second third of the day, then the third third of the day. If we can balance our calorie intake between those thirds, we are actually going to be significantly leaner because we're reducing the reason why our body stores body fat, but we're actually promoting some usage of body fat throughout the day. So we're burning a little bit of body fat throughout the day, but we're also not creating such an intense demand or opportunity that the body would want to or even be able to replace that body fat. Most commonly, there are exceptions to this, but most commonly, when you look at people on the planet whose job it is to get as lean as possible, so we would be looking at like bodybuilding type people. Now, bodybuilding, that term needs to be updated, so I say aesthetic sports, but no one knows what the heck I'm talking about. But bodybuilding shows actually include more than just bodybuilding. There's women's bikini, wellness, figure, women's physique, and then women's bodybuilding. So there's different classifications which have to deal with the different amount of muscle tissue you would want, depending on which look and distribution of muscle. Then for men, you have men's physique, men's classic physique, and men's bodybuilding. And again, it depends on the amount of muscle tissue you want. However, all of these categories of people are going to be incredibly lean. They're going to have six-pack abs. They're going to have veins on veins. They're going to be really, really lean. If you look at the diets of those people, now I have coached those people. That's actually one of the things I do all the time. I coach people to untested pro cards and tested pro cards, so natural and unnatural. I've coached athletes in every single one of those categories. So I'm familiar with it. I write those diets. I also know the industry standards and practice. And overwhelmingly, most often, their goal is to time exactly what they eat to exactly what they need and do that in micromanagement throughout the day. So they're going to be eating every 3-ish hours. And every meal, they're determining, okay, what have I done up to this meal? What will I do until the next meal? How many calories and how much protein? They're going to factor in protein for muscle maintenance and muscle repair and muscle growth. They're going to factor in how many calories and how much protein do I need to get me to my next meal. Then at that meal, again, what have I done since my last meal, what am I going to do to my next meal? How many calories, how many grams of protein do I need? And they do that all day. This gets them incredibly lean. This is how last year, if you were following along with our channel, Meredith lost over 40 pounds and ended up qualifying for a national level competition. And we didn't even start anything, I think, until early June. So in early June, she's like, hey, do you think I could beat this year? And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So we didn't do any cardio. She just had to control her calories, and we trained about 4 to 5 times a week with weights and only about 40 minutes per time. That's it. So no cardio whatsoever, 40-minute workouts 4 to 5 times a week. All we did was manage her calorie timing, the amount of calories, the amount of protein she needed based on what she was doing and when she was eating. And it lost 40 pounds. She looked shredded. She looked amazing. Super happy for her. We accomplished our goal. So you don't need to do crazy amounts of exercise to lose weight. It can certainly help, and it's mental therapy for a lot of people, including myself. There's a lot of good things with exercise. But nutrition is the main driver. And how you would drive fat loss is with caloric timing. Making sure you're eating what you need, when you need it, no more, no less. That's the goal. When we use the concept of thirds, that breaks our day down into just 3 individual sections. I don't have to manage my calories per 24 hours. I don't have to get to dinner and say, oh man, what the hell did I have for breakfast? What did I have for lunch? Did I have anything in the snack? I don't know if I had a snack. We don't have to worry about that. We just worry about every 5 to 6 hours, which is usually 1 to 2 meals. So for every 1 to 2 meals, did I hit my targets? Yes, no, move on. Super easy, way more easy. A lot less stress, a lot less anxiety because you have more control. But controlling every 5 to 6 hours isn't as micromanagey and stressful as trying to control something every 2 or 3 hours. So it's a wonderful blend in the middle. But that's the approach that we use to help people lose body fat and maximize body composition. Making sure they have the least amount of fat but the most amount of muscle, good daily energy, they feel great, and they're kind of achieving their goals and happy with what's happening. So if you work out in the morning and you're eating healthy, but you're not making progress, your caloric timing may be the reason why. You might be under eating during the day, overeating at night, and adding the early morning workouts actually made the issue worse. So the solutions we have would be to eat more earlier in the day. The number 2, like the 2 top things I get pushed back on is I don't want to work out with a full stomach and I'm not hungry in the morning. Those are the 2 most common things. A third might be like, I don't know what to eat before the workout. And that's typically because people are thinking they have to eat something that's high in fiber, super slow digesting, and it's like, gosh, who the hell wants to eat that right before they work out? You'd feel awful. You'd have no energy, and you'd have this food in your belly that probably wants to come right back out, So our solutions for this, or how we kind of start to address these issues with clients, is number 1, to address dehydration. Often why people aren't hungry in the morning is because they're dehydrated. The body does not want food then, that it has to allocate energy and water to digestion and breaking down that food. So if we address dehydration, that can often bring hunger to that person earlier in the day. I have had hundreds of clients that I've asked them to drink something in the morning within the first maybe 20 minutes of being awake, and all of a sudden within an hour they're hungry, and usually they were never hungry for 3 or 4 hours. Now, if they don't want to drink water, totally fine, I don't care. We have to get some calories in, so maybe it's fruit juice, maybe it's Gatorade, maybe it's there's protein drinks like Core Power, or like an RTD, ready to drink protein drink. Really, it doesn't matter too much. Like, I don't mind if it has sugars, like if it's fruit juice or Gatorade or a sports drink or iced tea. It doesn't matter. I don't care. We don't want to overconsume that, and go past our calorie allocation. But it's okay if it has calories. That's actually what we want. Is we want to bring in more calories earlier in the day. So it's okay if it's liquid, which is great because that solves the dehydration issue, and it starts bringing in calories. So actually fruit juices and sugary drinks is an okay place to start. Is that optimal? Is that where we're going to end? Probably not. But is it a great starting place? Absolutely. It gets us moving in the right direction. We can then use that movement, that momentum, and make some shifts and turns and redirections. But at least we got the ball rolling. That's kind of the idea. The second solution is to eat less at night, so you're actually hungry in the morning. Often the reason why people aren't hungry in the morning is because they ate so damn much right before they went to bed. Their body really didn't burn all of that off. It's not waking up in a deficit. It's waking up going like, I'm pretty good. So if you were to fill your gas tank and then park your car, there's no need to fill your gas tank when you get up in the morning to go drive your car. Correct? So if I stop at the gas station on the way home, I fill up my gas tank, and then I park, the gas tank is full the next morning. So what we want to do is we want to bring down the food we have at night, and that'll actually start to increase the hunger for food in the morning. One of the ways we'll make that adjustment in a way that a person can tolerate more is to choose foods at night that have high volume but low calories. So for example, you can have a diet where somebody might eat, say, 6 ounces, I'm just making up numbers, by the way. So 6 to 8 ounces of grilled chicken, and then maybe they're going to put with that a cup and a half of rice. Well, if you have 6 to 8 ounces of chicken, a cup and a half of rice, that's a certain amount of calories, a certain amount of volume. If you substitute that same amount of rice with peas, you're going to have the same amount of volume, but you're going to have less calories because peas have less calories than rice. But then, if you substitute the peas for chopped apples, you have even less calories, but you can have the same volume. So what we would do is at night, we would choose foods that allowed for a good volume so the person can feel full, but has a lower calorie count so they can wake up more in a calorie deficit and be actually ready and feeling hungry. They're ready to eat. The third thing we want to do in the morning is eat quicker digesting foods. We want to focus on liquids because that helps with the dehydration issue as well. You can focus on liquids, and it's okay if they have calories, totally fine. And that can include like protein shakes. Maybe you put in like an almond milk, protein powder, blend in some berries, a banana, whatever the heck you want to put in there. As long as it has some calories in it, great. That's fine. If it's liquid, it's a little bit easier to consume, a little faster digesting because the mechanical breakdown of the food particles is actually done for you by being blended. So it's a significantly easier and faster to digest a blended food than a non-blended food. You can also do fruits. You can do easy to eat whole foods, quote unquote, like Greek yogurt and, like we said, protein shakes, things that are more like liquidy or soft. And that can help you be able to eat that in a little bit of an easier way. It also, one of the ways we kind of make these adjustments is we don't go 0 to 100 in one day. So if you are used to, in the first 5 to 6 hours of the day, only eating 300 calories, and maybe we find out, man, it would be better for you if you were to eat 600. We don't go from 300 right to 600 if that's uncomfortable. Let's just go from 300 to 400. Make that a little bit, kind of steady. Make sure you can do that. Then we go 400, 500. Make sure that's steady. Make sure that's consistent. Then we go 500, 600. So you can kind of walk your way up to where you need to be. But those are the solutions as we address dehydration. We eat less at night before, calorie-wise, not necessarily volume-wise. So that way you're more hungry in the morning. And then we eat quicker digesting foods, and it's actually okay if they're liquids and if those liquids have calories, like fruit juices or Gatorade or something like that. So if you work out early in the morning and you're following a diet, but you're still not losing weight, this is why. The impact of early morning workouts is that you're actually perpetuating the reason why you probably are overweight in the first place. Is you're in a deficit during the day, you're overeating at night. When you add exercise in the morning, you're actually increasing that deficit. You're increasing the body's desire to replace the body fat that was burned during the day and to store more body fat as protection. So address your caloric timing, and you can use that thirds concept, and you'll lose more fat, build more muscle, have better daily energy, appear leaner, be all around happier, and making much better progress. If you have any questions, shoot me an email at brutalironjim@gmail.com. You can go to our website, www.brutalironjim.com. I do have coaching services. There's no contracts. So if you want to reach out, we'll do a 30-minute consultation. We'll chit-chat about what's going on. I'll give you some suggestions and what we can do. We'll work together for a month. And if you like that, you can take it on your own. If you want to keep working together for a couple more months of accountability, we'll do that as well. My whole goal with this podcast is to present information that you can use to improve your life right now. So as soon as you listen to the podcast, you can improve your life. But I also want to open up the opportunity to reach out and work with me so that way you can get guidance if that were to be helpful or desirable for you. Awesome. Okay, if you need anything, let me know. Email is brutalironjim@gmail.com. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. The more people we share it with, the more people we can help, the more people that will be aware of the podcast. And when you share it, let people know that they can ask questions totally for free, and I'll cover those questions in a podcast. I truly want this podcast to be whatever you need it to be. I want it to be helpful. I want it to make a difference in your life. So communicate with me so I know how to do that best. And then if you want to support the podcast, you can do a donation on our website. You can also go to the website Nutricost.com to buy your supplements. I use their supplements. I've actually been using their supplements for over 10 years. If you go to their website and you use the code BrutalIron10, you'll get a 10% discount on supplements, and then we get a 10% commission on whatever you spend. So it's a good way for you to get great supplements at a great discount and give back a great donation towards us. So thank you if you do that. And then if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.